Hey guys, my name is Nathan Simmons, and I am with Colonial out of Longview. Forgive my casual dress. We normally dress casual here in our office on Mondays. Anyway, putting together this video for you because we're going to be setting you guys up with some supplemental benefits on Friday. Not sure if you guys know what those are, but basically, if something were to happen to you or your family, we put money back in your pocket. It doesn't go to the doctor, it doesn't go to the hospital. It goes directly to you, and use money however you need to. All right. So before I even really get rolling, y'all need to make sure that y'all thank Mr. Stanley or your father for. Putting together this for you, because he really cares about you guys and loves y'all. And what he's actually going to be doing is he is going to be putting up basically $250 a month for each of you to use towards any one of our benefits, and you can kind of mix and match. And so anyway, you're going to be able to go $250 a month towards those benefits. If you go over that amount, then whatever you go over would be coming out of your own pocket. But anyway, basically what we're going to be doing and kind of why we do what we do and why we're coming to visit with you guys is just last year, the leading cause of bankruptcies in America was due to medical bills. And what's crazy is of those people, 78% of them had health insurance. And that just tells me that, that health insurance is not the savior. And so now y'all's health insurance, it may be phenomenal, and y'all might not owe a dime to the doctor or the hospital, which I don't even think that exists anymore, but let's say it did. You guys are sitting at the house recovering from something, or maybe you're on maternity leave, whatever. Would you guys agree that 82% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? Absolutely. I'm one of them. That's going to be one of the first things we're going to show you how to do, is how to protect your paycheck with short-term disability. I don't imagine any of y'all go to work to volunteer. Right? You don't go to work for free. You go there for a purpose or something to fund your lifestyle. We're going to show you how to protect that. And so now, the simplest example that I can use of what that is of why something like that's important. Well, number one, you got to use your paycheck to be able to pay for everything else. Why would you not protect it? For instance, I always stole this from a friend of mine. If you guys had a toaster at your house that once a day, when you got home from work every day, you just pressed down the lever on that toaster and you knew once a month it was going to pop up $3 or $4 grand a month, would you protect that toaster? Well, I'd say most people would. We're going to show you how to do the same thing with a paycheck. All right. The other thing you'll be able to look at is survivor benefits through life insurance. Over half the people that we visit with, they tell us they don't have anything. The ones that do tell us they don't feel like they've got enough to sustain their family's lives for 2 or 3 months after something happening, much less being able to put somebody in the ground. The main reason why we get told why people don't have anything is because they don't know where to get it, which that kind of blows me away, because that feels like it's every other TV commercial, which I think is part of the problem. There's a lot of carriers out there. Most people don't know where to start. And so that's kind of where we come in, because what I see a lot of is there might be a CEO at this really, really big company that wants $1 million life insurance policy or $10 million or whatever. And there's people lining up the door to go see that guy, but there's not too many people that seek out the individuals looking for just, $15,000, $20,000 of life insurance or something to set aside to cover a mortgage till they get that paid off, or something that they just don't want to leave behind a burden to their family, heaven forbid, if something were to happen. That's kind of where we come in, is typically if you were to call up a company to get some life insurance, they typically told you to go online and try to figure it out yourself. You got to fill out an application and you don't know what you're really filling out. So that would be of everything you guys are going to look at. Let me recommend 2 things to you if you're not already doing it. Look at protecting your paycheck with short-term disability, and look at a minimum $15,000 to $20,000 of life insurance if you don't already have something in place to at least set aside for burial expenses. It's not enough, but it's at least something to cover, an unexpected event. And so if you care about your family at all, at least look at those 2 things, because one of those 2 things is going to happen. Okay. As far as everything else goes, you'll hear us talk about the big 3: cancer, heart attack, and stroke. Cancer means a lot to me personally, because my wife's had a scare a couple years ago. Not sure if you guys have ever been around it before, but minimum cost of cancer right now is about 25 to 30 grand, and that's if you have unbelievable health insurance. What most people don't realize, unless they've been around it, is that as of right now, about 2/3 of cancer costs aren't even being covered by health insurance. which is really scary because 1 in every 2 men are being diagnosed right now, and 1 in every 3 women are being diagnosed. I'd venture to say you guys all probably know someone who's currently going through it, or who's been through it recently. And so it's a very prevalent problem. And part of our job on that is to kind of help educate. Hey, you have health insurance, that's great. It's a great foundation, but it doesn't necessarily cover everything when it comes to that, because a lot of the treatments are considered experimental when it comes to cancer, which health insurance does not pay for. And on top of that, give you an example. When my wife and we were going through what we did a couple years ago, we had looked at going to, or we live in Longview here currently, and we weren't going to be going to our local hospital here. We had actually looked at going to MD Anderson down in Houston. Travel, meals, lodging, those are all things health insurance doesn't pay for. And you're down there for weeks at a time because you're not going to be able to just go down there and come right back. But also, we were real close from going from a 2-income family to a no-income family pretty quickly, because you're not going to send your significant other down there by themselves. And so, something to think about there, to ask questions about for you and your family. Now, the other thing, as far as stroke and heart attack go, that may or may not be an issue for you guys. If that's going to be more family history related. And so what I encourage you to do is ask questions about it if you do have family history of it, because your chances of something happening later on in life with those two occurrences go up drastically. Now, why is something like that even important? Well, typically, you're not in the hospital for very long when you do have either one of those things happen. But the problem occurs is when you release from the hospital, you're not right back on your feet doing what you were doing. There's typically a couple months, 2, 3, 4 months of recovery time before you're fully able to go back to work. Case in point, we actually had a coworker of ours a couple years ago. His father had a heart attack, was in the hospital for about a week. Sure enough, as soon as he got released from the hospital, he was out of work for about 4.5 months, I believe it was. Actually, no, it was 3.5 months. Anyway, thankfully, he had a $15,000 critical illness policy with us, and as soon as he had his heart attack, he was written a check for $15,000. And he was able to use that to make ends meet for his family until he was able to go back to work and keep paying the house payment, the car payment, and everything else. And he was going to be able to keep his way of life until he was able to fully go back to work. So something to think about there as well. You'll also be able to look at an accident policy. I recommend looking at that if you got kids that are in school playing sports, or you're out on the road a lot. You like to ride four-wheelers on the weekend, or your kids do, or anything like that. You'd be surprised how often you'd use that policy. You also got something that's specifically designed to offset your medical deductible. Say you need to get your deductible immediately. We've got something that's designed to get you there pretty much overnight, so co-insurance kicks in. That's called our hospital confinement policy. And then we've also, we're going to have dental and vision available as well. PPO, dental and vision, huge network here in the East Texas area. You can get dental and vision for your family as well, and so we'll have information, and we can answer any questions on that. So we're going to be out, and I believe we'll be visiting with you guys one-on-one on Friday, and we'll be kind of going through some of the benefits that are going to be provided. Basically, the way it works is we're going to be getting you some material for you to kind of look over before Friday. That's going to you'll be able to kind of look and see what kind of the cost of everything is, and you'll be able to start kind of picking and start trying to manipulate what you want to put together as far as how you're going to allot that $250 a month towards the benefits you want to use. And so anyway, the majority of your questions are going to be answered on Friday when you sit down with our benefit counselor on Friday. But one thing I do want you to understand, you guys are all going to also get something called a wellness card. It's basically a card you're going to get that you can use for discounts on prescriptions, dental and vision, pretty much anything medically related. Cool thing is with the card, you can actually use it for discounts on movie tickets, hotel reservations, Six Flags, SeaWorld, Disney World, and you even use it on Rangers tickets. So pretty neat little card that we came out with a couple years ago that I've had a co-worker friend of mine. He's gone to the Omni Hotel in downtown Houston and stayed there for $100 a night using that card. If you don't know anything about the Omni, it's dirt cheap. And then probably my favorite story, this was just a God thing. There was a lady that we enrolled at a company. She had cancer. She was in remission, but she was still having to take this medication that was costing her about $1,200 a month. and she was able to get the medication down to $275 a month. So basically, the way the card works is one card for you and your whole family. If you don't think you'll use the card, give it to somebody. You go online and you type in a zip code, and it shows you a list of places that accept it, depending on what you're trying to use it for. But if you don't think you'll use it, give it to a friend or family member, because it's not attached to anybody until you register the card. So if you don't think you'll use it, give it to somebody, because we've heard a lot of great stories about it. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, feel free to call us. But the majority of your questions, again, are going to be answered on Friday. And again, we'll be getting out that information to y'all. Anyway, again, make sure that y'all thank Mr. Stanley and your father as well. And we will see you guys soon.